I've heard that the industry leak rate is close to 25%. Is that true? And if so, how sustainable is it?
Yeah, very good question. The 25% is it's the general rate that is quoted and that has been seen in studies. And the interesting thing, that's 25% we've seen in the US and we've also seen in Europe. And the second part is it sustainable? It's not sustainable for a couple reasons. One, we would be continuing to leak, and the amount of demand and the growing amount of commercial refrigeration, it would be looking at the chart of CO2, we would just be contributing more and more CO2 to the atmosphere. The R squared value, the correlation between that CO2 chart and the global change in temperature is 80%. So that is highly correlated. So from a climate change perspective, it's not sustainable. And then second, there is the price of HFC, which are these refrigerants that are being leaked, is by the laws of supply and demand is increasing and will continue to increase. So financially, it won't be sustainable because it happened in Europe. They pulled back the supply side. They regulated back how much supply could be in the market, and the cost went up. The same is happening in Europe, in the US in 2024, starting in January. They're lowering the amount that can be sold in the US by 40% versus a baseline of 4 years ago. So even as demand's going up, the government's pulling back supply. So unless you contain it in the systems, you'll be paying more and more by the laws of supply and demand. The same thing happened in Europe, and prices went up by 10, 15 times the amount. So what would be $10,000 to fill a medium system in here in the US would be over $100,000 and could literally put a small grocer out of business. So financially, it won't be sustainable. Globally, it's not sustainable. So it really needs to be dealt with. And the good news is, if you have this detection, if you have good maintenance practices, you have good systems in place, good management in place, the leak rates can go from 25% to under 5%. And that's what we see best of class with our clients, is under 5%.